Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. May be seated. Members of the jury, just so that you know, for scheduling, we're going to try to totally complete the direct examination of Agent Blythe. Okay, so go ahead and continue.
All right, Agent Blythe. So we took a short break. Let's just, top to bottom, just a short recap. January 29th. We have indication that Mr. Tenon's devices traveled from 5239 Potomac down to the Nocatee area, past two areas of interest to include elite gymnastics, and onto Fresnel Lane, which is the same lane where the victim's residence was indicated to you. Up.
Okay, ask a question.
Why don't you do the recap for me, Agent Blythe? We had a little break. Let's refresh on January 29th, and then we'll move on to the next date. Can you tell us overall the path of travel of Mr. Tenon's device, and then I'll ask you about Mr. Fernandez's devices during this time frame.
Yes, during the time frame, to recap, the target cell phone moved, and the device accessing Henry Tenon 53 at gmail.com moved from the Potomac Avenue location south towards the area of the two locations of interest, the elite gymnastics and the Fresnel Lane in the Beach Walk area there. And then the target device moved north to the area of the crime scene and then back to the Potomac Avenue residence area.
And during this time period, we see on slide 29, can you summarize what the data on this slide indicates to you in terms of Mr. Fernandez's device?
So numerous timing advance events between 3:04 to 3:45, showing that target cell phone is in the same geographic area as the Tenon residence during that time frame.
And we see slight different measurements on some of these data points. Does that necessarily mean that the device is moving?
Not necessarily. So the timing event signaling goes to and from the phone, and is the distance calculated comes in increments of 78 meters, and so it can be rounded up. And so you can have a device sitting stationary and get timing advance measurements, one or two bands around that location.
And the distances here, the difference between them, we're talking 0.04, 0.05, but that doesn't necessarily indicate the phone is moving that distance back and forth.
No, ma'am.
Is there anything else that you think, based on your analysis of these slides, that I've failed to ask you about this particular date?
No.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to the slides you did for activity on February 15th, 2022. Slide 34, we have timing advance data for 2633, Mr. Fernandez's phone, cellular data for 7612, Mr. Tenon's phone, and some of those Google location points for Henry Tenon 53. Can you tell us what we're looking at in this slide, slide 34?
Yes, so this shows the movement of target cell phone 2633 in pink north along Highway 23 from 931 to 932 to 934 here. Then at 937, this one is 948, 937, the target cell phone was had this calculated distance, and then at 944 through 945 is here. You see this timing advance band at 948, and another two more at 947 and 958 in this area around the Tenon residence. During that time frame at 931, a few minutes before the 934 event with the pink phone, you have for 7612, Mr. Tenon's phone, a incoming call using the same tower and sector that Mr. Tenon's phone, that Mr. Fernandez's phone used at 934. And between 931 and 957, there's 9 events with less than 200-meter confidence radius in this area along Highway 23 south of Edgewood Avenue.
Slide 35, we have the same date, February 15th, 2022, but a different time frame, 4:03 p.m. to 4:59 p.m. And can you explain to the jury what the data on this slide indicates to you?
So it shows that target cell phone 2633 between 4:03 and 4:55 p.m. Was located between 0.39 and 0.53 miles from the base of the tower in the area indicated by these 4 timing advance bands. And during the same time frame between 4 to 4:29 and 25 seconds, the target cell phone displayed 5 events with less than 70-meter radius, showing the device was at or near the tenant residence location, and then moved starting at 4:34 away from the tenant residence. You can see this at 4:34, 4:40 here near Old Kings Road and Edgewood Avenue, 4:45 south of Old Kings Road near West 19th Street, and so on. And then returning back towards the direction of the tenant residence by 4:59 near the Shannon sign on the map.
And again, like the slide on the 29th, do the presence of multiple bands here indicate or necessarily mean that that phone is moving distances back and forth?
It could, but it may not be.
And here we see that there is some period of overlap potentially of these devices such that you could you reasonably conclude there's some co-location going on here?
Potential co-location, yes.
And for how long of a time frame would you be comfortable saying?
So certainly between 4 and 4:29.
I'm going to move to the date of the homicide, February 16th, 2022. And we have timing advance data for Mr. Fernandez's cell phone. And here we see some movement. Can you describe for the jury what we're viewing here?
So this is showing timing advance bands from 2 different towers for target cell phone 2633. The tower here is indicated with the call-out box to the right, events between 5:03 and 5:11 p.m. Those events are the bands drawn here. And you can also see 2 events from the tower located near the Oceanfront Park sign on the map at 5:03 p.m., 1.02 miles from the base of the tower that intersects with the other bands. When you have timing advance bands that intersect geographically, that are close in time, that's where you're going to find the phone, is at that area of intersection.
So intersection gives you some more precise location than just bands would.
Yes.
Can you make any conclusions from this slide as to where the device was most likely located during this time frame?
It was during this time frame. You can see that it's most of the bands, and you have the area of intersection in this area. Most likely the phone is located in this area during most of the time frame, and towards the end of the time frame, the target cell phone utilized these bands a little bit closer to the tower, 0.53 miles from the base of the tower, between 5:10 and 5:11.
Your Honor, given that I expect to cross examine tomorrow, is there a way to preserve a screenshot mechanism? Take a picture of it?
No, I think. Do you want him to draw it again? Do you re-annotate?
Between 5:03 to approximately 5:10, target cell phone most likely be found in this area of overlap of the timing advance. Then 5:10 to 5:11, it appears moved a little bit to the east. It's located at a calculated distance of 0.53 miles from the base of the tower.
Can you see that? It's red. AJ, is there a way to change the color for the witness? No? Okay. All right.
Can I erase it? February 16th, 5:13 and 5:19 p.m. We see some movements of bands. Can you describe what we're looking at in this slide?
Yeah, so this time frame starts at 5:13 with the phone at 0.63 miles from the base of the tower, which is this closest one that crosses the sector and is on top of the Fernandez residence location at this point on the band. And then you see the next event, the ending event of that is at 0.68, which is the next one farther away from the base of the tower here. Then at 5:15 and 42 seconds, there's the band farther at 1.12 miles from the base of the tower. There's timing advance events from a adjacent tower, and the the long and short of it is that it appears that the target cell phone was moving to the east, or excuse me, west, I'm sorry, based on those timing advance events.
We're seeing in slide 36 and 37, are you mapping all of the timing advanced data points for this particular time frame?
During that particular time frame, yes.
And we see here there's pretty consistent 503, 503, 503, 506, 506, 506, 507. Oh, sorry, Melanie. Sorry, Ms. Simpkins. 503, 503, 503, 506, 506, 506, 507, 4 or 5 times, 508, 510 3 times, 511. So, and on slide 37, we're also seeing every minute or so, we're getting a timing advanced recordation. Is there any rhyme or reason to how a network, how often they take these measurements?
So it depends on the market. It depends on the provider. The technology is generally the same between providers, but it may function slightly differently as far as timing, depending on the provider, depending on the network, and it's a network engineering data set, and it's there to help optimize the network and troubleshoot problems on the network. As a byproduct, it provides this calculated distance that the phone was from the base of the tower, which provides a much more precise location. So it's not going to be necessarily at regular intervals. It can be initiated by phone calls, text messages, data sessions, and when a device begins to move, there's generally, in my experience, begins to be more signaling with the phone when a device begins to move.
If there's regular timing, let me ask you this question too. You don't need to be actively using your phone for timing advance to be recorded. Does the network record these timing advance calculation if a phone is off?
No.
If you place your phone into airplane mode, would the network collect this timing advance data measurement?
No.
February 16th, between 5:21 and 5:45, we see an indication up top that not all timing advance is displayed.
Yes.
And is there a particular reason you don't display all of them?
Due to the volume, is difficult to display and also represent the date, time, and distance in the call-out boxes around it in an understandable way. So this is in an effort to try to simplify it for presentation purposes.
And in this particular slide, what are we seeing in terms of this data? What does it indicate?
So you can see timing events between 5:21 and 5:45, showing the target cell phone in this area near Beach Boulevard, between just east of the Intracoastal Waterway, between 5:21 and 5:30, and then with the 1 represents this tower and sector located closest to the yellow flag and the residence flag, the Fernandez residence, and those are the events between 5:29 and 5:44. You can see the first event at 5:29 is this event here, and then the phone moves south and east utilizing the sector facing the 2 locations at 5:36 and 5:45. Those are the 2 bands depicted here near the yellow and residence flags.
What conclusions, if any, can you draw from that data?
The phone moved back towards the vicinity of those 2 locations, the yellow and residence flag.
And here we see a kind of a close-up of some of that data. Is there anything else that you need to say about this slide, or is this just close-up of what we kind of previously went through?
It's just close up and trying to specifically identify each of those bands with the specific date, time, and distance. So you can see these areas of intersection between 5:21 and 5:29, and then the phone uses these 2 bands at 5:36 and 5:45.
And the timeframes you're asked to map, that comes from just the request that you're given.
Yes, the timeframes that's relevant to the investigation.
And is it best practice to give data more context and map a bigger time frame than necessarily, if you have a crime that occurs in 1 minute, is it kind of better to give you context and draw opinions to map a larger time period in order to draw more accurate conclusions from that data?
Yeah, so the timeframes I map is very case dependent and the circumstances dependent. Also, generally I want to see where the device was before, during, and after an incident.
We have here timing advanced data on slide 40 between 5:46 and 6:35 p.m. And what does the data indicate to you on this slide?
There's 2 towers with timing advanced signaling with 2633, the target cell phone and ping. It begins at 5:46 with an event utilizing tower and sector 68009 with the timing advanced measurement here just to the south. That crosses visually just to the south of the residence flag. Then it's from 6:06 to 6:35. There's a number of several timing advanced signaling events, 0.68 to 0.73 miles from the base of the tower, and 1 incoming phone call using the same tower and sector for the target device. So target cell phones in the same geographic area as the 2 locations depicted, the Fernandez residence and the location of interest.
On this call-out box here, we see that there is an incoming call. Does that indicate that this phone was using the cell tower to make calls using cellular data?
Yes.
And here we have 709. Okay, so the last timing advanced measurement we have for this particular device is 6:35:39 p.m. On the next slide, can you explain to the jury what you mean here when we're talking in this call-out box about the availability of timing advanced or other cellular data to map?
Sure. So at 7:09 and 7:10, you see 2 beginning and ending event with the same calculated distance mapped visually here using this tower and sector to the east of the 2 locations. On the left, describing the cellular activity during that time frame. There's 3 events from 7 p.m. to 7:59 p.m. Related to timing advance and call. So 1 incoming call with no duration, at 7:09:52. So then no outgoing or incoming text messages between 4:26 p.m., which was an outgoing text message, and 6:29 p.m., which was an incoming text message. The next event in the call detail records after 7:09 and 52 seconds is a 10:46 p.m. text message. No data sessions with cell site appeared in the records during this time frame depicted on the map.
So this is important, and I want to take a little bit of time with it. We see here that there's one incoming call at 6:08, and we have timing advanced records until 6:35 p.m. The next slide, you indicate that other than this 6:08 incoming call, that there is one other call at 7:09, and that you reviewed. Does this mean here when you say no incoming or outgoing text messages between 4:26 to 6:29, and then again until, 7? I'm trying to ask this in a better way. I'm going to go step by step. So you looked at the call log records themselves.
Yes, the raw records.
Yes. Can you describe for me what the cellular activity of this phone is during this time frame? We're getting timing advanced, which is generated by the network. It doesn't mean you have to use your phone. What user-generated or user-received activity is there on this phone for these time periods?
So the last outgoing text message is at 4:26 p.m. There's another incoming text message at 6:29. There's no cell site for that, so I can't map those two. The next event is that call with no duration at 7:09:52, and then there's nothing else until 10:46 when there's a text message.
So this slide here, the only activity for this phone from 6:35 p.m., and then I'll get to the next slide, through 8:19 p.m. are these two timing advanced measurements at 7:09 and 7:10.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's no incoming or outgoing text messages for this time frame or incoming or outgoing phone calls past 7:10 p.m.
No, not till the text message at 10:46.
Going to the next slide, we have from 7:11 p.m. to 8:19 p.m., we have no timing advanced records for this cell phone. Is that accurate?
Correct.
And we see here, what can you tell us about any cellular usage? I know you did it last slide, but for this time frame, are there any incoming or outgoing text messages or data sessions or phone calls coming in and out?
No, not between 4:26 and 6:29, and then nothing else until the 10:46, and there's no data sessions with cell site during this time frame.
So from the time frame between 10:28 p.m. and our next slide, 8:20 p.m., can you draw any conclusions about the location of these devices?
So no, in the absence of location information, I can't show the location of the phone. I can see where it picks up on the next slide, and during that time in between, the phone could have traveled any distance one could travel and get back to the location that's going to be where the cell site picks back up, or it could have stayed there that whole time. I don't know. So there's snapshots in time, and they show you the location of the phone during those specific times.
Slide 43, we have timing advanced, again recording beginning at 8:20 p.m. with no timing advanced records again until 8:48, and then we have 8:48, 8:52, 8:55, 8:58, 8:59, 8:48, and we see some tower activity. Can you tell us what this slide indicates to you?
Yes, the target cell phone, especially at 8:48, is at or near the area of intersection between the two timing advance bands, and the target cell phone's in the same geographic area as the two locations of interest, the location of interest and the Fernandez residence.
Okay. Agent Blythe, on February 16th, we're seeing that there are timing advance records available for Mr. Fernandez's phone and multiple timing advance records. For this particular date. We see here on slide 36, think over 15 different timing advance recordations in a span of 11 minutes. We see multiple timing advance recordations in the span of 6 minutes for this phone. Between 5:21 and 5:45, you didn't even map all of them because of the number of timing advance recordations. Then we see here multiple intersecting bands on page 39. And we see 6:06, 6:08, 6:08, 6:08, 6:35,
Correct.
5:45 on page 40. And then we have from 5:35 until 7:09, 7:10, we have no timing advanced records. And we skip ahead to 8:20 p.m., we pick back up with timing advanced recordations. I understand data by itself can't lead you to draw any conclusions, but what can you tell me about the lack of data for this given the amount of timing advance data both before and after this time period?
I'm objecting to asking it. Counsel did a whole recitation of facts without asking questions. Yeah, the exact same question that Blythe asked. Was the answer moments ago, just did not draw conclusions. Snapshot in time.
Okay. I'll overrule the objection. You can answer.
It points towards no connection with the cellular network during that time frame, in that there's no data sessions with cell site. There's periods without the text messages that we looked at those times, no phone calls, and there's absence of timing advance. There can be time frames where timing advance isn't recorded on a network, and I can't. It can seem almost continuous, and you can see the numerous events that there were before and then moving forward afterwards, but there's this period of time. So you have to look at it, the totality, and you can look at the amount of data activity, call activity, and see how much or little a person is using a phone. But at the end of the day, T-Mobile has their record retention, and they operate the timing advance system. So I can't say exactly why there's no timing advance during that time frame. But one possible reason is the phone being powered off or airplane mode during a specific period of time.
You can't say with certainty that's what it is. It could be network connection issues. It could be user generated by turning off or putting it in airplane mode.
Correct. So yeah, whether it could be either one.
There is multiple timing advance and cellular activity both before and after this specific time frame, which there is none. And although you can't say why that is, there is activity both before and after this time frame.
Correct. And we saw the time frames where the phone was, appeared to be stationary, no calls, map during those time frames, and there's still, timing advance being recorded.
This just happens to be the time of the homicide.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to turn your attention to the mapping you did that evening for the phone number and Gmail account for Henry Tenon. And we have locations between 5 p.m. and 5:56 for 7612 and Henry Tenon 53 at Gmail. And I think the jury's probably experts by now at reading these slides, so these ones we can go a little bit more quickly through. Can you please explain to me what the data indicates to you about these devices?
So it's a visual representation of the cellular network usage for target cell phone 7612 in green and the Henry Tenon 53 target device. Between 5 and 5:49, the target device has 30 locations displayed there right on top of the Tenon residence. Then at 5:50 through 5:57, the target cell phone begins to move south and east away from the Tenon residence along Highway 23 and then Highway 1.
And that's a close-up of those 30 locations, just indicating that that's a lot of data points in one specific area that all sort of correspond to each other.
Yes, and they're visually, their confidence radiuses are touch or on top of the Tenon residence during that time frame.
And then here we see is there data, geolocation data or cellular activity for 7612 following these two slides?
Yes.
Is there a gap in that data?
There's a time frame where there's no cell site location information until later.
And we see here indicated in this call box up here on page 44. Does that give the jury some kind of indication of those time frames without data?
Yes, there's no data activity for 7612 from 5:57 p.m. To 9:13 p.m. So that's data sessions. That's the phone's access to the World Wide Web. There's no calls after 5:53 until 9:18 p.m. 5 minutes after you start to see data sessions again. And there's no activity for Henry Tenon 53 between 5:57 and 8:39 p.m.
And similar to what we were just talking about, could that indicate someone who has turned off their phone and put it into airplane mode?
Yes.
Could it also indicate something outside the user's control?
Possibly, but just to have all three of those off, we don't have timing advance, so we can't look at that. But that points me as an investigator towards the phones off or in airplane mode during that time.
Particularly because on other slides, Mr. Tenon's phone number and Gmail seem to be able to record data in the same, in the path of travel, at least part of it, that we know that he probably took that night.
Yes, ma'am.
The 29th. When he leaves his home, he's taking geolocation data all throughout this area, and then later we know he has location data here. Does that give any illumination as to your opinion on whether his phone was off or in airplane mode versus just happened to have connectivity issues during this time frame?
So, yeah, I mean, we take our phones with us, we use them. They are collecting cell site location information when we make phone calls, when we use data. When generally that's happening periodically when we're using the phone. If you see an absence of those things, it points towards the phone's not connected to the network for whatever reason. And so whether that be off or airplane mode, Google can continue to collect location information, even if you put it in airplane mode. So and then transmit that back once you turn the transmitter back on.
Okay, so the next the next voice data and Google location data for Mr. Tenon's cell phones and the timing advance data for Mr. Fernandez's cell phones are indicated here on slide 46 for the time frame between 8:59 p.m. and 9:23 p.m. I'm going to start with Mr. Tenon's devices. Can you explain to me what the data on this slide indicates about his voice device 7612 and Henry Tenon 53 at Gmail?
Yeah, so target cell phone 7612 utilized the tower and sector near the 2nd Avenue sign on the map, the sector facing to the south and east towards the yellow flag and the residence flag for 2 incoming phone calls at 9:18 and 9:23. One of those phone calls was with his other cell phone attributed to him in this investigation. And the Henry Tenon 53 Gmail is moving into this area from the south during this time frame, starting at 9:01 here near the 5th Avenue and 9th sign, and moving north and then west towards these locations at 9:15, 9:19, and then ultimately 9:23, which is on top of the timing advance band at 9:23. So well within the coverage area for the tower and sector for this tower and sector used by 7612.
I want to talk about his other phone number, 0513, on February 16th. And I'll come back to this slide when we're finished with that discussion. But he had 2 phone numbers, 0513 and 7612. We saw 7612 mapped earlier, and now we're mapping here 0513. And can you indicate to me what data was available for this phone that you're mapping here?
So for this phone, we had call detail records with cell site. So we're just going to be able to show tower and sector based on phone call activity. And here I'm displaying a phone call that went to voicemail at 2:12 p.m. using the tower and sector to the south of the Tenon residence location.
And here on February 16th, between 8:40 and 9:23 p.m., we see that there is cellular activity on this phone. Can you describe for the jury what this slide indicates to you?
So the first activity at 8:40 is the target cell phone using a tower and sector here near the 9th Street sign on the map, facing south towards JTB. 3, the tower and sector to the north near the Jacksonville Beach sign on the map, facing to the south and west. And then the tower along Beach Boulevard, the sector facing south towards the location of interest in the Fernandez residence for a phone call at 9:23 p.m. And you can see that's the phone call with his other phone.
So as this device is moving and utilizing these towers, we see that it is actually attempting to contact Henry Tenon's other device.
Yes.
And here for these same time periods, do you have any opinion as to the geolocation data and how it corresponds to that 0513 number based on the mapping you completed here?
It appears to be moving north with the target cell phone 0513, and then it's co-located, it's in the same area as both phones at 923.
Would you feel comfortable making an opinion as to if those phones were separated at some point during this time frame?
It appears that they were separated and came back together between 8:40 and 9:23.
And then here we have Mr. Fernandez's phone showing timing advance records between 9:11 p.m. on February 16th and 1:59 a.m. on February 17th. And again, we see, well, what does this slide indicate to you?
So there's a lot of timing advance events from 3 different towers, all sectors facing one another in the area of these 2 locations with timing advance. We can see a 1243 event here and a 1243 event from the tower near the Jacksonville Beach sign. So those 2 timing advance events intersect about in this area near the same area as the Fernandez residence.
And again, during this time frame, we have timing advance records. We do have data available for the phone at 9:11, and then data not again available until 10, between the hours of 10 and midnight. And then on the 17th between 12:45 and then fairly consistently up until the last time frame mapped. Can you draw any conclusions on this data as to your previous opinion about the frequency of timing advance in this area?
So the frequency of the timing advance picked back up during this time frame for the device. It appears to be regular and periodic during this time frame, not continuous, but regular. There's what we typically seen through the majority of the time frame.
And you said not continuous, but periodically. There are some, specifically here, we have a lack of timing advance data for about 45 minutes.
Correct.
Between 9:11 and 10:02. And then voice call for the 7612 number, the next data available for this phone, which was not communicating with the tower other than the previous slides, is back here at the Potomac Avenue.
Yes.
Was there any data available to you to map the route of travel from Jacksonville Beach back to this area by these devices?
Not for 7612, no.
The last few slides I'm going to ask you about, you were asked to map some data from Mr. Fernandez's phone for a time period of March 2nd, 2022 through March 6th or 7th of 2022. And can you describe for the jury what we're seeing in these next few slides?
So this is a travel overview. It's showing all or the vast majority of the timing events activity, showing the movement of the device north from Jacksonville Beach area to the Brunswick area between 9:20 p.m. and 11:53 p.m. on March 2nd, 2022.
Slide 53, this is March 2nd between 2:36 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. Can you describe both with your note and the data what this slide indicates to you?
Yes, the target cell phone moved from the area near the Walterboro sign along Interstate 95 here north past Florence towards the Clinton, North Carolina area between 2:36 and 10:30 a.m. The phone remained in the Clinton, North Carolina area until approximately 6:20 a.m. on March 4th, 2022, and the phone began to travel north towards Cheswick, Pennsylvania, outside Pittsburgh.
Slide 54, what is indicated in this slide?
This is showing all the activity during that time frame between 6:20 a.m. on March 4th and 4:52 on showing the movement of the target cell phone to the Cheswick, Pennsylvania area. So the phone remained in the Cheswick, Pennsylvania area until approximately 6:50 p.m. on March 5th, and when the phone began to travel south away from the Pittsburgh area.
So it arrives on 4:52 a.m. on the 4th, or is that supposed to be p.m.?
I apologize. It may be supposed to be p.m.
Okay, so 4:52 p.m., this device arrives in this area outside of Pittsburgh and then remains there until 6:50 p.m. on March 5th. The next slide, slide 55. Describe for me what we're seeing in this slide.
This shows the gross movement of the target device south from the Cheswick, Pennsylvania area all the way back to Jacksonville between 6:55 p.m. on the 5th and 1:55 p.m. on the 6th. It's the drive time per Google Maps is approximately 13 hours and 35 minutes, and the target cell phone appeared to stop in Bridgeport, West Virginia area from approximately March 5th at 9:15 p.m. to 12:05 a.m. on March 6th.
And what conclusion did you draw, or rather, can you explain to us the math on this? Is this indicating that this is a straight drive other than this break here in terms of the cell data?
So we start at 6:55 p.m., so that's about 5 hours on the 5th, and 13, almost 14 hours on the 6th. So it shows, certainly we had the stop for 3 hours. So there's I'm sure there's some other stops in there along the way that are shorter.
And then on March 5th here, we have that timing in advance record showing a stop here. Can you explain what the data is showing here? And we have Sprint towers indicated. Can you explain that to the jury?
Yes, this is 2022 during a time frame when T-Mobile was acquiring Sprint. There'd be times where a T-Mobile phone could use a Sprint tower or vice versa. So to display these events, I had to also use the Sprint tower list. And so it just shows that from the locations of the phone between 9:12 to 9:50, the target cell phone was moving south along 79. And then between 9:20 and 9:50, to 9:50, the target cell phone was moving south along 79, and then between 9:20 and 9:50, there's timing events shown here, 3 different distances during that time frame.
Just showing another stop.
Yes.
And then here between 10:04 p.m. and 12:05 a.m. on March 5th into 6th, is this indicating another kind of what you would consider to be a stop in this route of travel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Lastly, we've got on June 7th, you were asked to map some data provided to you in this investigation, and this is showing some efforts by the detectives to locate a specific address. And can you indicate to the jurors, based on this data, what it appears to indicate about the movements of Mr. Tenon's phone 7612?
So it shows the movement of the target cell phone 7612 south and east towards the area of the College Garden sign on the map. And between 609 and 610, the device used the tower and sector here facing to the west towards the blue truck recovery flag, the blue flag on the map to that area.
So this was used as detectives to try to locate a truck by looking at some cellular data corresponding to some other records on Mr. Tenon's phone.
Yes, ma'am.
And then lastly, we have these ops clock for Mr. Fernandez's phone. And can you describe for the jury what this is depicting?
So this is designed to try to show when a device is least and most active. It shows based on the call detailed records. So it's showing the time frame from December 31st, 2021 through March 31st, 2022. And where you see it starts with the days of the week, Sunday through Saturday here. And then this is like a clock, 0000 is 12 o'clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going around. It shows the hours of the day. It starts with AM on this side, makes it to noon, and then this is the afternoon and evening. So the darker the shaded area is the more frequent activity in the call detail records.
And if we're talking about February 16th, which was a Wednesday, if we map through Mr. Fernandez's average for this time frame, usage of cell phones in that time, usage of his cell phone in that time frame where we don't have data, between about 7:10 through 8:20, we have, can you describe for the jury kind of what this indicates about that?
Yeah, during those hours of the day, there's usually usage on the phone. Somewhere between 7 and 8, it starts and continues until between 7 and 9.
And this is based on data sessions and cellular usage. This is not that timing advanced
Correct.
data. And this is just another way to look at that. I know people visualize things differently. So this is page 60 of the slide deck. And then here on page 61, can you describe for the jury the data you've mapped here?
Similar presentation, just different visual format. It's a bar chart showing by hour of the day when the frequency of usage based on the call detail record.
And unlike that other slide, this is not broken up by Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This is just an aggregate
Correct.
of times. So we see here the time frame I'd asked you about for the lack of any data was between 7:10 and 8:20 p.m. So we see here 1900 would be 7 p.m. and 2100 would be 9 p.m.
Correct.
Agent Blythe, having gone through the slides, is there any questions, since you're the expert, that I didn't, anything else you think that you need to say or correct given your testimony here today?
No.
Calls for a narrative.
Sustain.
Agent Blythe, I will leave you and tender you for cross-examination to Mr. Dreiser.
All right. Members of the jury, that's going to conclude the information or evidence today. So leave your notepads on your chair. I'm going to remind you to please follow the communication rules. See you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Please let the record reflect that jury's left the courtroom. Agent Blythe, you're still considered to be on the witness stand, but we'll take the break over the night's recess. Please Do not discuss your testimony with anyone, and that's including the attorneys, because you're still considered to be on the witness stand, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, see you tomorrow morning. If you could get here maybe a couple of minutes before so we can get you on the witness stand.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything we need to take up? All right, thank you all very much. I will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.